The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Okay, welcome to the program, January 23, 2024. My name is Matt Edwards. The signal is on the air. How can you not be fired up from that montage, that opening montage? Some of our really great liberty legislators, folks who are fighting for the people. It's really great to listen to their words being spoken in debate and committee. Love that. Okay, folks, like I said, January 23rd, and we have a fantastic show lined up today. Speaking of fantastic liberty legislators, legendary, I would say. We have a very special guest this morning. I want to play a quick YouTube short that was put out by the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance to kind of set up our next guest here. But guys, go ahead and roll that.
I'm going to say something that's always controversial, but there is no rationale for assault weapons and magazines that hold 50, 70 bullets.
I'm Christy Zito with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. President Joe Biden said we don't need to have assault-style weapons and we don't need to have magazines that hold 50 to 70 rounds. Well, I could probably give you 50 to 70 reasons why I should be able to have one. But I don't need to. There's only one reason why I should be able to have one, and that's because the Constitution says, shall not be infringed.
Very good. Very good. Christy Zito, welcome to Idaho Signal. It's a pleasure to have you here. You are currently the political advisor at the Second Amendment, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, but as well as being a former senator in the Idaho legislature. So welcome to the program. I want to get into some of the work that you have been doing on behalf of Second Amendment Alliance and on behalf of your time in the state Senate. Good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm not sure how I feel about being called legendary, but thank you for the compliment. I'm doing really well, thank you. I've got a fire in the wood-burning stove, and my house is toasty warm, so life is good.
Fantastic. Well, we say legendary because your work on the Second Amendment Alliance, or the Second Amendment in general, and more importantly, let me just bust out our Idaho Constitution, because I believe it's Article 1, Section 11 that deals with, it's even stronger in the state, the right to bear arms Declaration of Rights in the Idaho Constitution. But you're such a warrior for this issue that I say legendary because I'm all the way up in the north, and people love you all over the state for this issue.
I really appreciate that. And it is important to me because bottom line is, without the Second Amendment, how do we defend and protect the rest? How do we ensure our republic? How do we ensure that when we see a government that goes rogue, that goes tyrannical, that's all we have? Not only that on a national level, but on a personal level. That's all I have. When it comes right down to it, and I'm in a position where, for example, two men come after me, if there's no way I'm stronger than them, even one man, I'm just not. And, that's just the physiology of the thing. And we have the right to life, the right to defend and protect life. And we have an obligation to defend and protect our republic. And I am very passionate about that. When we were able to get constitutional carry through, you look at it and you say, well, this is Idaho. And I hear this all the time. Well, this is Idaho. Well, it is Idaho, but it took several years to get full constitutional carry through. And the excuses, I think what happens is we get the bureaucratic agencies involved. And don't get me wrong, I am grateful for law enforcement. So grateful. And first responders and on and on and on. However, we need to keep in our minds and understand that it's the job of the bureaucratic agencies who belong to the governor. They are appointed by the governor. The buck stops on his desk to do what the voice of the people, which is the legislature, directs them to do. And I think sometimes that message gets a little fuzzy there at the Capitol between that and, special business interests and, tax breaks for big companies. But you start your own little business and you're not going to get a tax break. So.
Yeah, and I want to go back to one of your first points there was about what the Second Amendment, the benefit of the Second Amendment for women is that it helps equalize the fight, so to speak. We hear so much today about how these stats, and who knows if they're real or not, that women are held, being sexually assaulted, and yet we don't have campus carry. Is that an issue that you are looking at?
I am. I think it's terrible. I don't think it should matter where you are, and especially like on a campus, it's government funded. And my opinion of being able to carry is
right. It seems like we're having. Are we having a connection issue here? I hear us fine, but we're
getting me.
Maybe there's a slight.
There's a little bit of a delay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Little bit.
Okay. Yes, I think.
Okay.
It's important.
Well, why don't you go ahead? Well,
okay, I've got good.
Hey, we're live. This happens. It's okay. It's okay.
But we can do it again if we.
Well, that's okay. I maybe. Yeah, let's we'll take a break. We'll see if we can connect this. But if we can't get you back today, Chrissy, we'll invite you back again. We'll talk some more.
Okay, awesome. Just we'll go off, or I'll go offline and you tell me what you want me to do.
All right, sounds good. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
There's a saying in Idaho: Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, we are back. Apologies for the connection issue, but we'll get that fixed, and we'll have Christy on back. She is running again for the Senate, so and she's in District 8. So I'm sure you can look up Christy, and we'll get some information out there about how you can learn more about Christy Zito if you don't know already about her great work. I want to bring in the executive director of the Idaho Freedom Caucus. Maria Nate is with us. Hi, Maria. Can you hear us okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So there, a lot of activity happening down there with caucus members and the entire legislature. A lot of news being sent out there. But there's some things that are happening a little bit behind the scenes that aren't seem to be getting so much attention. But it's going to spill over, and I kind of wanted to get ahead of it a little bit and kind of learn what was happening because it seems to be a little bit of exciting. What can you tell us?
It is. First of all, I just want to say that we absolutely need Christy Zito back in the Senate. Yeah. So she's a treasure. We need her back. Absolutely. So we've got to do whatever we can to get her back. She is a founding member of the Freedom Caucus and will be again. So
excellent.
Let's get her back. There's a lot of exciting things happening here at the Capitol. The biggest issue right now is the budget. And the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee has done and they're setting maintenance budgets, which would be the budgets that keep the doors open and the lights on. So they're base budgets, and then they're just going to try to pass those all at once, and then after you would go back and fight over the line items. And those would be things like one year they wanted helicopters and pilots and drones and trucks and all those things. And if you would vote against that, you were voting against the entire budget. And then they would run out and message and say, you hate police. Well, no, I don't hate police. I just think that maybe these 4 things are excessive and we shouldn't have them. So this year, they're trying to do things a little differently so that, again, you can vote to keep the lights on, and then you can vote to cut the growth in government. And that's the fight right now. And you have the Democrats and the Main Street Caucus who are teaming together to keep things the old way.
Surprise. And the old way is just smash everything together in the budget. And now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like at the federal level, that's what they do. They smash everything together at the federal level and pass one budget. But when it comes to the our state, we have like 100 or so separate budgets for each of the departments and each of the divisions and so forth. And so those get passed. So what you're saying is we want to like break it down even a little bit further. Yes. So that way we could fund the essential things that need to be funded, and then they can squabble over the line items. That's what you're telling me?
Exactly. Yeah. And look, let's just be honest that these base budgets are bloated as well. But the first rule of holes is that when you're in the hole, you stop digging. Okay, so we need to stop digging a bigger hole, and we can break open those base budgets and we can get into those over the summer. But for now, let's just stop that, and then let's attack the growth. And the governor's asking for $1.5 billion on top of his already large budget. So this is really the first opportunity in a decade or more that we can actually claw back the growth of government. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and your caucus put out a statement this week, kind of outlining this and also highlighting the federal money that right. continues to flow into the state. How does this? How do we tackle? Is that being tackled, the federal money stuff, or are we just taking it as it comes in and?
Well, yeah, it's crazy. We have $34 trillion of federal debt, but Idaho is reliant for 43% of its money from the federal government. It's just unsustainable, mind-blowing numbers. So again, we're going to attack this a little piece at a time. And again, stop digging the hole. So that federal reliance, we can work on that. We should always be working on that. We should be rejecting federal money, because we all know with federal money comes federal nooses, and they hang us with them. So if we really want to be a sovereign state, we need to start being responsible for our state and quit going back to the government, the federal government, who's broke to get money. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's our tax dollars as well. So even though it makes its way through the federal the federal system, we continue to grow and grow and grow government,
right,
and grow our budgets. So okay, one last thing on this then, just so that we're clear, if this new rule does go through and we're able to do this, does this mean at the end of the session, if they don't pass the sort of line item part of the bill, but they did pass the maintenance bill, that they can adjourn and go home?
You got it. You could pass all the maintenance bills and sine die, which would mean go home, and you're keeping government running. And then we could save the state $1.5 billion if we did it that way. So you see why the big spenders in the Main Street Caucus want they're trying to stop this, because all the power comes in the line items when they can fund all their little crony projects and fund all the big growth of government. And the Capitol is crawling with lobbyists who are trying to get their piece of this pie. So it's really the biggest fight that's happening right now, that it's sometimes hard for people to grasp and understand, because these are such big numbers and there's so many of them. But you have a small group of committed conservative legislators and some outside of the Freedom Caucus who are absolutely committed to these principles and will fight for them. So prayers to all of them to stand strong and be courageous.
Absolutely. I mean, I it always boggles my mind what drives, and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt by saying, they're trying to lead with their heart and they're trying to do good things for the people by spending other people's money. But when it comes down to it, nobody likes having their money taken away from them and then being spent on other things without them having at least some sort of say in it.
I know.
Oftentimes it feels like we have absolutely no say in where this money gets directed, and it's much better when the money is in your pocket and you can give to certain charities or you can give to certain organizations that do these good works. So this is a big battle. It's a big fight. Where do you? I mean, what's your outlook? You think we'll win this battle with this rule, or you just how do we find out? When do we know that this will happen?
When you see the budget bills come across the floor, if they start on the House side, there are 10 maintenance. They lumped them into 10 bills, and when they come across the House floor, and they get voted up or down. So right now, the fight is whether or not those budget bills are even going to hit the floor. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of on the knife's edge here. It could go either way. We need conservatives to stand strong and support the work of the committee, which is Wendy Horman and Scott Grow right now. This is a great opportunity. Lend your support to them. If we're going to trust the committee process, let's trust it.
Yeah, so let's. Are they the ones in control of this? I mean, do they make the call? Wendy Horman and Scott Grow?
They are the committee chairs. And so this was the process that they put together. And right now you have Senate leadership and the Main Street Caucus who are fighting against it. And so they're applying a lot of pressure to these committee chairs to back down. And they need support. We need to support the committee chairs.
Okay, well, we are going to make sure we communicate that. We'll put up their phone numbers so that people can call and say we support this. What do we call this? This separation of budgets? What do we call it?
That's a great way to say it. We support the new budget process.
Okay, we support the new budget. Okay, we support the new budget process. So we'll get the phone numbers for Senator Grow and Representative Horman, who are the co-chairs of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee. That's JFAC, and that's where all the budgets start. That's where all the agencies go, and the governor goes to request funding for the government. So we will get those numbers up there and make sure people contact them. Okay, Maria, it's great to have you on. Thank you again for joining, and we'll have you back again.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks. All right, folks. I know we're having some signal issues today. Once again, they're jamming the signal, but we'll work through it. I appreciate you hanging in there during the live show. What's great is we get to clip these out and share the good bits for it. But you're a trooper for sticking around during the live show when we get through some of these hiccups. Okay, that being said, we're gonna get those numbers because I want those up. So let's cut to a quick break. We'll get that stuff and we will be back.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those 2 founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Okay, we are back. I want to make sure that we get these numbers out, so we're just getting the control room to try and fire these numbers up. You can just put them up on the screen below my name here. Once again, Senator Scott Grow is the Senate side of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, and on the House side, it's Representative Wendy Horman, and they both co-chair the budgeting committee. This is basically the budget committee. So it's full of, 15 or 16 members or so, Republicans and Democrats. There's obviously way more Republicans on the committee than Democrats, but they are in there listening, reading, having presentations given to them about the budgeting process. And so when the budgets come before them, they sit there and they negotiate and trying to figure out which is the budget that they can get passed in the House and the Senate, and ultimately keep the government open. We have to do this every year. I believe there's about 100. Previously, there's been 108 bills that are presented that fund the government. So what we have now is a proposal that says we're gonna create 10 bills that cover all of the agencies, that cover just keeping the lights on, just the maintenance of the departments that are in each of these bills. And if we can fund those and keep those on, I mean, you're paying the lights, you're paying the salaries of the folks that are already there, you're paying the gas for the police cars and the ISP, whatever equipment they have out there, you're having that. That is those are the bills. So if you vote for that, then the government can continue operating. And then these other separate bills will be all of the, discretionary spending, all of the projects, all of the different ideas, all of the different programs that the governor or the agencies or somebody else wants to try and fit in. And then that's where you can have a larger debate on whether or not to fund those particular items using, of course, our money. So right down below here, Senator Grow and Representative Horman, you can call them and tell them that you support this new process, because this is all about transparency and keeping people held accountable to where all this money is going. And it allows us to see the greater picture on this. We're going to go into more of this tomorrow. We have an excellent guest scheduled for tomorrow, and we're going to dive into what this actually looks like. But in terms of rallying everybody and rallying the troops, support the new budget process that they're debating in JFAC. Those are the numbers right down there below. It's Senator Grow and Representative Horman. They're the co-chairs of the JFAC. Okay. Shifting gears here. Yesterday in the House State Affairs Committee, there were a couple of bills that were presented, and we've got some clips from there. I wanted to show this. Representative Ted Hill introduced a bill that would push back on the gun-free zones in our K through 12 schools, essentially saying, what's working now, what we're doing now with declaring a gun-free zone is this is the part where I get to insert my own opinion. It's ludicrous. Gun-free zones are turkey shoots, my friends. They're a turkey shoot. We are fortunate enough to not to live in a state that does not have draconian gun laws, and this is a way to help protect our children by allowing for teachers and staff with the proper credentials to carry a concealed weapon on campus as a deterrent. And God forbid, as a way to defend. So during this hearing yesterday, one of the Citizens Alliance good standing pledge signers, Representative Jaron Crane, asked Ted Hill, Representative Hill, a question regarding this. And so let's see how that exchange went.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Hill. Can you point me in the legislation, are you requiring that they have a concealed carry permit, or is this open carry, or both?
Okay, good question, sir. Chairman? Yes, that is part of the bill. I didn't get the specific details on this, but it will be required, enhanced concealed weapon license required to do this. So you have to be willing, able, and you have to pass that requirement of enhanced concealed weapons license.
Any further questions?
Okay, so you heard it there from Representative Hill. That was a great question from Jaron Crane, because most of the time when this topic comes up, everybody just thinks it's a free-for-all, that any old person is going to be allowed to just walk onto campus and open carry AR-15s walking around the halls of the school, and that's not the case. This is a common sense approach. It's not meant to be a distraction. It's simply meant to be a deterrent and to be used as a defense mechanism. And so I applaud this bill, and I'd like to see it go forward. We'll get the more details on it as it goes forward and see how it ends up in the House. Also yesterday, Representative Heather Scott presented a bill that was meant to encourage and at least keep alive the idea of using cash. You kind of see this global effort to push us away from a cashless society and move us into digital currency or using credit cards or just to tap your phone or whatever it is, and the money just gets moved around. But cash has an inherent value in it, because every time you use one of these cards or digital means or anything, a little bit gets taken out. There's a great video on this. I've seen it somewhere where it's like when you use a credit card, 3% of your money that you have to pay or that you're paying has to go to the credit card company. This one goes to the processing company. And then little by little, that $10 that you were spending gets dwindled down because everybody's taking a little piece of it. But when it comes to cash, if I have $10 cash on me and I give you $10 for a product or a service, I can just give you the $10 and no one else gets a piece of it. So, but Representative Gannon, Democrat out of where is he out of? Boise somewhere, had an interesting question for Representative Scott. So let's roll that clip.
Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Scott. I think it's a good idea to require accepting cash for lower amounts. I am concerned that somebody comes in with several $1,000s in cash. They might have gotten that money illegally, drugs, something else, and they come in with the cash, and they have this pile of $100 bills to pay taxes or something like that. And I think so I have that concern. Would you consider an amendment that something like shall accept cash up to the amount of a certain amount of dollars, say $500, $250, something like that, as a method of payment?
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Gannon. There is some language in code about large amounts of cash. I don't have that in front of me at the moment with my research I found, but I don't know that I'm concerned with people paying government large amount of cash, because usually they're being tracked. So I think the government would have their name, and usually it's for the tax commission and that they've got their records. I think someone would probably not be wanting to pay counterfeit money to the government. It just doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah. You can see folks in the audience are laughing at Representative Gannon's question there. Absolutely hilarious to think that a criminal someone who's around with either counterfeit cash or just loads of cash from criminal activity is going to go declare their file their taxes and go show up to the IRS with a bunch of cash. Anyway, one can hope, I guess. We all, the government wants everybody to be paying, and so I I respect that to some extent, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay, that what was going on yesterday in the House. Some of these bills obviously we'll track. We just wanted to share some of these clips with you and give you an insight to what's going on down there at the Capitol. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be back, and I believe we have Senator Tammy Nichols on deck here. So let's see what she's been up to. We'll be right back.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty. For honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Mr. President.
Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to debate on this.
You have the floor.
Thank you. So I just want to express my concerns briefly regarding this appointment because as the role of treasurer of the Idaho Victory Fund and the responsibility for signing checks that put out attack ads against many of us in this body, it causes me to compel a no vote on this one. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there further debate? Hearing none, Senator Lee, you're recognized to close the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure that I want to do anything other than to continue to look at the qualifications to serve on this particular board. And again, as I offer that agricultural background and really longstanding support and belief for good things in our state, I would urge your support for Mr. Hingler.
Okay, real quick, the look on Senator Lee's face was priceless, to say the least. Joining me now is Senator Tammy Nichols. Good day, Senator. Just to set up that clip, we kind of played it just coming out of it, but the governor has been nominating folks to sit on commissions and committees and stuff all over the state, and some of these names popped up and seemed awfully familiar to some folks. This one in particular, what can you tell us about this? Why did you stand up and object here?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been noticing this legislative session is how many, I would say, friendlies to the governor are getting appointed to different positions, even former legislators and that type of thing. But this one stood out to me because I recognize the name, and that's because this appointee is the treasurer for the Idaho Victory Fund. And not too long ago, I found out that, and there was some other research and stuff done behind the scenes and some articles put out. But I found out that this fund, this PAC, was part of the money and actually the PAC itself that put out targeted ads against myself, Senator Lenny, and Senator Treacle. And so when this name came up, it rang a bell to us for sure. And so I had objection with, and I wanted to get a statement on record that I had concern with this appointment because of the ties that they have to the Idaho Victory Fund and having attack ads that are ran on several members in the body of the Senate.
Wow, I mean, this is incredible. I'm when excuse me, when those articles came out that kind of followed the money from these different PACs. Nowhere in my mind did I think that those attacks would be rewarded with these government positions. What are these? What kind of power or prestige does one get from being assigned to these positions? What's the motivation to say, hey, we'll assign you to this commission or to any number of these different places? Are these just, is it just a figurehead thing, or is there real power behind this stuff?
Well, some of them are a figurehead, but some of them do have the ability to make a lot of decisions in regards to some of the budgets in policy. So there are, and my feeling is that some of these people are being put into positions because they're friendlies to the establishment, and in my mind, a lot of it's like putting the fox to guard the hen house sort of thing. So yeah, these make a difference. These appointment positions do make a difference. They are helping to create policy and law in Idaho. And like I said, and a lot of it also has to do with budgets. So they are positions. They're unelected. They're unelected bureaucracies, but they do have sway in the state.
Wow. I'm amazed by it. So, has there ever been a time, at least, and I know this is your second session as a senator, but you've been in the House for many years prior. Has there ever been a time where an appointment like this has ever been voted down, or had any other issues come up similarly, or controversy behind them?
So one thing to understand is appointments are only done on the Senate side. So the House does not do appointments. But my thoughts, what I've been told in the past, is that rarely do appointments get voted down. The session prior, we did reject an appointment from the Education Committee, and so that was one of the first times in a long time, from what I was told, that has ever been done. So rarely do they get rejected or voted down. But I think we need to start really looking into who these appointments are and what they're being where they're being put into place, because again, some of them seem like it's the fox guarding the hen house.
Yeah. And I noticed also last week, I think it was last week, that former Senator Jeff Agenbrod was nominated to be part of some sort of energy committee, and during his committee hearing, he admitted he really knew nothing about energy. And, this had very Hunter Biden vibes to it, where Hunter Biden was appointed to the Burisma board of energy in Ukraine, but had no experience in energy. Right. And I'm not trying to say Agenbrod is anywhere near Hunter Biden in that respect, outside of that respect. But you do kind of see this sort of, these appointments being used in sort of a scratch your back friendly manner. And it's very concerning. What can be done about this other than exposing it? Because the press won't talk about it, but that's what we want to do here. So what else can we do about this?
Well, here's the thing. These positions, these appointments start in the committees. And so, but they come up so quickly, and you really don't even know until you get the information that these are actually taking place. So you start them in the committees. And so that is the first opportunity to be able to reject appointments or to bring up issues on why this isn't a good appointment. For instance, one that we rejected last time, there was a person that was being appointed to be on the charter school board. Well, this person in the past has been very unfriendly to charter schools, if you will. And so why would we be putting someone in charge of part of the charter schools on the board when they don't even like charter schools? They don't even want anything to do with them. So that was a concern. So it starts in the committee. So it's really the public needs to be aware. And then, we try to do our part, but like I said, they come up really fast, and you get a little packet of information. Well, no one talks about the negatives that might be, like this last appointee with being the treasurer with the Idaho Victory Fund. That wasn't in anything that I received. So it's taking that information as we can get it, and getting help with digging into who these people are. But that's the first line of defense right there, is the committees and the public trying to help us out with what these appointments. And then we need to be appointing, get our people in there too, so people can also these are governor's picks though. But there are a lot of ways that people can get onto different boards and different departments on their boards. But it's still due diligence, and we need good people in the legislature to start talking about some of the things, because all you hear on the floor is all the positive. There's never anything about the negative. Even if these people have no idea what this board's about, what it does, anything, but we need good people in the legislature that will stand up and bring those things out and expose that, just like we did this last one.
Yes, you did. I mean, I saw that clip and I thought, wow, that was brave, because like I said, Senator Abby Lee, who's the assistant majority leader, I believe, of the Senate, I was like, who is she looking at? She kept looking over and it was, I mean, you don't need to comment, but I thought she was so uncomfortable by it. She didn't want to respond to it. She voiced that she didn't want to respond to any more of the quote debate that was trying to be started there. But it was very telling, and this is what we need. I want to thank you for standing up and saying that stuff, because this is the type of moment that you can't squander. And you sat there, you knew what was coming, and you stood up. And it takes a lot of courage and integrity to do what you did. So, Senator Nichols, thank you for standing up. I know you'll continue to do so. But how can people follow you? Where can people support you and keep your fight active?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me. My website's nicholsforidaho.com, and it's NICHOLSFOR Idaho. And then social media, everything that I have is under Nichols for Idaho. And you can subscribe to my newsletter that is on my website. Just sign up right there. I have some great stuff that just came out today in regards to what's going on with our budgets. And, and also I'm part of the Idaho Freedom Caucus. I'm the co-chair of that. So we have a Substack that you can sign up to for that as well. All great information. Part of our job is just to get information out, to keep people informed on what's going on. Because unfortunately, most of government doesn't want the people to be informed nor involved. So that's what we're trying to do while we're here in the legislature, besides try to run good policy, good legislation, and stop the bad stuff, is to just keep people informed on what's transpiring in their state.
Fantastic. Well, God bless you and your work, and we'll have you back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's Senator Tammy Nichols. Fantastic work that she's doing there. Okay. Down below, just remember, we want to support this new budget process. And maybe I should have asked Senator Nichols what she thought about that, but we'll have her back on to do that. Representative Horman, Senator Scott Grow, they are the co-chairs of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee. That's JFAC. They're the ones that set the budget. They get things set up so that they can send it to the House and Senate to say, here's the budget for everybody, that you can vote on the budget. We can fund the government for the next year and then go home. And what they're doing is they're separating the budget. They want to say, hey, let's create 10 special bills that can deal with the infrastructure, the keeping the lights on. Let's fund that part of it. And then all this other stuff that gets bloated and moved around and requests for this, requests for that. There's one budget I saw where the department asked for like 63 new employees. The governor said, no, let's just ask for 28 employees. And then the maintenance, but the regular budget is not asking for any employees because they just want to maintain what's going on. And so then you can look at those other line items and say, well, let's negotiate or not do it at all. But let's just at least keep the lights on. So that's the budget process. We're going to have more on this tomorrow. But in the meantime, call these two members. The numbers are scrolling down below. You want to call them and tell them that you support this budget process. Okay, I want to bring on Brian Allman now to go back to the earlier discussion we were having with Tammy with these appointments, because Brian Allman is one of the first in the state to break this PAC money that was going apparently from the governor's victory fund to another victory fund to another PAC that went out and sent door knockers that was putting out hit pieces on Senator Nichols and some of her colleagues. So, Brian, welcome to the program. Gem State Chronicles does some great work. You're doing great work over there. What can you tell us about this appointment and this PAC that this person was a part of?
Oh, goodness. So, I mean, where do I even start with this? Go back a couple months ago at Gem State Chronicle. Gem State Substack is where you can find it. I just kind of connected the dots of all these groups. You had the Idaho Inaugural Committee was set up after Governor Little won his reelection. And I don't know if it actually had anything to do with his inauguration or inaugural ball or anything, but that's what it was called. They took in tens of thousands of dollars from various groups, and then they gave a bunch of that money to something called the Idaho Victory Fund, which is also associated with the governor. Last summer, the governor sent out fundraising letters for this PAC, for the Idaho Victory Fund, promising that he needed money to fight the Democrats, fight Joe Biden's agenda. And then that money, well, at least some of that money, obviously money is fungible, so you can't say, one specific dollar went somewhere, but they donated a lot of money to something called the Idaho Liberty PAC. And that's the one who funded the attack ads against Senators Treacle, Lenny, and Nichols. Meanwhile, the inaugural committee was renamed to the Friends of Brad Little PAC. So you have all these PACs, you have all these groups that are, going around. Yeah, that was a pretty viral post there. Because people are interested in the connections between these groups. And yeah, you have people like Chad Hengler, who's the treasurer for the Idaho Victory Fund. That's Brad Little's PAC. He was, recently reappointed to this board. And I'm not saying that's, he's not qualified for it. I looked into his background. He's a third generation, farmer out, I have too many tabs open. Sorry. I lost it. Anyway, I'm sure he knows his business, but
sure.
The idea that I see is that you have essentially a closed circuit of wealthy, powerful, influential people. And that circuit, that circle of people, that network includes the governor himself, a lot of business leaders, a lot of industry leaders. And they appoint each other to these various boards, and nobody's really supposed to question it. You look at the Idaho Liberty PAC, the one that actually funded those attacks on the Canyon County senators. Their chairman and treasurer is a fellow named Robert Jones. He's a partner at a political firm called GS Strategy Group, founded by a fellow named Greg Strimple, who also owns the Lively Restaurant. It's just across the street from the Capitol in downtown Boise. The Strategy Group is apparently in the upstairs of that same building. He's been doing work for Republicans for a long time, Republicans such as Chris Christie or John McCain or John Cornyn of Texas. But then you go to the Sunshine Report and you see that, they're used by a lot of these groups. Idaho Victory Fund spends tens of thousands of dollars on the GS Strategy Group for surveys, polling, ads. Idaho Liberty PAC spent $15,000 on GS Strategy Group for wages and payroll. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Again, I'm not necessarily accusing anyone of doing anything wrong here. I'm sure they have lawyers on hand to make sure everything's, according to the letter of the law. It's just...
Well, sure, Brian, real quick, this ad right here, this is one of the flyers that was sent out by the Idaho Liberty PAC, right? And this is accusing Senator Tammy Nichols of wanting to turn Idaho into San Francisco. I mean, Senator Tammy Nichols has one of the highest scores on the American Conservative Union. I mean, all of the national conservative groups that rate state legislators, like she has one of the highest scores. And the Liberty PAC, who you're saying is getting money from the Victory Fund, which has the treasurer that was appointed by the governor for this position. I mean, this is the kind of story that the mainstream Idaho press should be covering, because this is incredible. That our own Republican governor is his PAC is sending money to another PAC to attack fellow quote conservatives, that one of the highest scoring in the country when she was in the House and now in the Senate. I mean, this is incredible. This is the kind of story that does not get pushed out there. Your thing went viral, which was great in our community, but we need more people to realize this. And I'm so glad that you're on talking about this. I just wanted to point this out. I mean, what is your take when you see a flyer like this? I mean, let's not miss the forest for the trees kind of thing. This is atrocious.
It is. I guess I've just gotten used to this sort of thing. And really, they talk out of both sides of their mouth, and they're trying to appeal to two different groups of voters. When they talk to moderate voters, they want to paint people like Senator Nichols and Senator Lenny and Senator Treacle as these radical right-wing extremists who, are, married to the Idaho Freedom Foundation, and they're just going to push all these radical, extreme, libertarian ideas. But then when they try to go after conservative voters who might be apt to support some of those things, they try to say this. They try to say that, these are actually, they're, Democrats in disguise. They're rhinos. They're California liberals who want to turn Boise into San Francisco. So both can't be true. So it's really a cynical political play to just target different groups with these different messages.
It really is. You hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you're there. It's attacking them, calling them leftists from San Francisco on one side, and attacking them, calling them, right wing fanatics on the other side. It's atrocious. So, okay, you also noticed another name that was being appointed. I saw you post this on X last night. Another name that has popped up that apparently has another role with some of these PACs. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, so I don't catch all the political appointees as I go through the committee hearings for each day to see what's the most interesting thing that maybe I should pay most attention to and cover on the Gem State Chronicle. I'll see rule changes and political appointees, and most of the time it's just, okay, I don't recognize that name. I'm sure it's some friend of the governor. This one jumped out at me. It was the appointment of Mitch Watkins to, which board was it? To the Idaho Transportation Board. So it's just another of these appointed boards that makes decisions for various government agencies. And some of the boards, like Senator Nichols was saying, some of them, they're just figureheads, but other ones do have rule-making abilities. They can craft rules for these organizations or for these state agencies that then affect our lives. So, it is important to the people who are put on there. And I just noticed that Mr. Watkins was scheduled to be appointed to this board. Currently, he's on a different board, actually. He's on the Idaho Broadband Advisory Board. So, it's like, these people in this, I called it a big closed network. They just shuffle them around to different boards and agencies, and they also use the same people to run their PACs and run their campaigns. It's a big club that most of us aren't in. So that's going to be heard today in committee.
So that was being heard today in committee. And what is his connection to? Does he connect it to any of these PACs?
Mitch Watkins is the chairman of the Friends of Brad Little PAC, which used to be the inaugural committee, which took in all that money about a year ago and then funneled it over to the Victory Fund and the Liberty PAC.
Wow. Yeah, great. Yeah, there's your post about it. Incredible. You quoted the great George Carlin. It's a big club and we ain't in it. That is so true. All right, Brian. I'm glad you're staying on top of this stuff. Somebody has to, and you do great work at the Gem State. I'm thrilled that you're able to come on the signal and we get to help amplify it when the signals are firing well. And it seems like we're firing well right now, which is great.
I just wanted to say that's, I think the important thing is that people just are aware of this. Most voters, they're just, it's very basic. Okay, they get a flyer. This person's good, this person's bad. But you dig into it and you see these political appointments. It's a very important function of the governor and of the Senate who gets to confirm them. And maybe people should just be asking more questions.
Yeah, they should, because people like to ask a lot of questions about what's going on in Washington, D.C. Everybody's involved in what the Supreme Court is doing, or what Marjorie Taylor Greene is yelling about, or what Matt Gaetz is struggling for, or what Mitch McConnell did here and Mitch McConnell did there, and who got appointed here and who's sitting in the committee, and Ray being grilled by Kennedy and Fauci being grilled by Rand Paul, and like all of this. Everybody loves watching that stuff, but when it comes to our state, I think it's just there's nothing really much like that going on here. And when with all due respect, my fellow citizens, all of that stuff happens at our level too, and it's folks like Brian here who are paying attention and what we want to do on the Signal and all the other great outlets out there that are trying to expose this stuff. So all right, Brian, are you working on anything right now? I mean, I want to know what's in your what to expect. You got anything you want to share?
This afternoon, I'll be at the House Judiciary and Rules Committee to hear about the vote on the fentanyl bill, which obviously I've written about, we've talked about. People are mixed on it. It's contentious issue. It's an important issue, and they're going to debate and vote on it today. So we'll see if that goes to the House floor as is, or if it's amended, or what happens. Beyond that, I'm just continuing to pay attention to the legislature, see what laws are coming up, and see what people are talking about, and try and get as much information out to the people as I can.
Okay, great. And we've got your information scrolling at the bottom here, but just tell us again, where's the best way to follow you?
I'm most active on Twitter, or X as you might call it, at GemStateBrian. Go to gemstatechronicle.com for the actual news articles and whatever else you want to see there. I'll probably be live tweeting this afternoon's committee hearing on X, so follow me there for the most up-to-date information.
Fantastic. All right, Brian, thank you again for joining us on late notice too. I was texting you late night. Can you come on? And you were here. So what a trooper. Thanks again, Brian. We'll have you back.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Once again, wow. I mean, I'm just, this is why we do this show. This is it right here. I mean, there are stories that the mainstream press, the Idaho Statesman, the whatever, that they have no interest in exposing any of this nonsense because it will diminish their access, right? I don't have any access. A lot of the folks that, don't have a lot of access, or am I interested in access? I'm interested in the truth. And that's what we want to present here. And so when we come across a story like this, that is outrageous. I mean, if I'm feeling those flyers were absolutely despicable. Can we see those flyers? We don't have those flyers again, but they were absolutely despicable, and they were coming from money. I mean, it's all laid out there. I mean, you can't tell me what does Judge Judy say? Yeah, there they are. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I think that was one of her quotes. But these flyers here they're absolutely atrocious. Anybody who would think that Senator Tammy Nichols' interest lies in turning Idaho into San Francisco is absolutely bananas. You are bananas. All you have to do is look at her voting record, look at the scores from CPAC and all these other organizations, the people who end up endorsing her when she's running. And the same goes for Senator Lenny and Senator Trakel, who are still finishing up their first term in office as freshman senators. But this is this kind of stuff needs to be exposed, and I'm glad we get to play our part in that. So, all right. Well, once again, I'm going to leave you with this. Make sure you call those numbers that are scrolling below. Support the new budget process. Call Senator Groh. Call Representative Horman of JFAC. Tell them that you support this. You support transparency. You support funding the basic elements of government to keep us open. And then you can negotiate and squabble over everything else that you guys want to, with our money. But, tackle one thing at a time. Okay, IdahoSignal.com is where you can support us. That page is set up so that you can get in touch with us, and make sure that if you are feeling compelled to support the show, to go to IdahoSignal.com and be generous, or just send us a note and send us a line. We stream live on X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram. Might be missing out some other stuff. We're live on all those platforms. Then the archive should be there for you to watch later. So comment, share. We cut up the segments so that those can be shared as well. The 2 segments today with Tammy and Brian are stellar. We're going to get those up as soon as possible so we can share those around, as well as the budget process. So tomorrow on the show, I am pleased that we're going to have a special guest on to discuss this budget process and go into it further, so that you can so that we can keep the pressure on to support this. We really want to make sure we support this. All right, folks. That's it for today, I guess. We will be back tomorrow. Thanks again for watching.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.